to see you. I haven't been able to see anyone else, and I see that the lighting is also bad, so I'm going to move over.
Good. It's
You
bright,
think
just like your future.
all of our futures, hopefully. It was great to tune into everyone's presentation. I love learning about all the different projects that everyone is working on. It's just so profound. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick screen share and jump right in. All right. Present. All right, so I'll start with an introduction to myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Lana Mustafa, and I'm the farm director at Montclair Community Farms. And we are a small local nonprofit whose mission it is to educate and engage our community through farm food and health. And today I am going to go over a presentation that some of our former farmpreneurs made for us last year as part of our new program. And hopefully you'd be able to learn a couple new things about who we are and what we do, and reach out for some volunteering and come join us and learn in the garden. So topics for today, we are going to go over how you interact with your local food system, introduction to Montclair Community Farm, learn some things about the Northeast Grain movement that we're working on, and our local market expansion, and talk about who we are as a Farmpreneur program. And as we're going on over all of this stuff, I really want people to really think about their connection to their local food system and what that really means. So who we are as an organization, of course, the heart of Montclair Community Farms is really our coalition. We have an amazing group of people from all over our community who come together and support the work that we do. We are partners with Home Corps, the Essex Master Gardeners, the Montclair Township, Rutgers University, Rutgers University's 4-H, Montclair University, and of course the History Center. Our mission, once again, is to serve as a local hands-on resource that engages and educates the community through farm food and health. And of course, offering affordable food access and healthy living. Our main site is located at 108 Orange Road, and here we have a beautiful garden with about 32 raised beds. We also have our chickens and an apiary on site, and we also have an outdoor learning classroom where we teach kids K-2 all about growing their own food and helping them make really strong connections to the natural world. And as some of the previous presenters mentioned, the future really is in their hands, and the more that we can connect and engage young people, the better our future is as a collective. So we really emphasize the educational aspects. Our secondary site is actually located at 16 Miller Street, and we have a couple raised beds. We also grow on the ground, and we spend the summer with our young interns teaching them all about how to grow their own food, and of course connecting them to members of our community, teaching them job training skills and all sorts of different things. We also have an ongoing partnership with Van Vleck House and Garden, where we're growing all of our seedlings, and we will actually have a plant sale this year. We also donate a lot of seedlings to local nonprofits and other organizations who are interested in growing their own food. So if anyone is interested, my contact information will be towards the end and you can reach out. My cat is doing something really naughty. We have an ongoing mobile farm stand. Our farm stand is really popular among the seniors. It's quite the event. We offer local affordable produce to members of our community, and we also partner with City Green's Good Food Bucks program to offer some incentive for SNAP recipients, where we discount about 50% of their produce transaction. Our current locations are going to start back up. We're going to be at Pine Ridge and First Montclair House this season, and we also have some pop-up markets throughout the year. Our farm stand actually starts on June 17. We're really excited about it. And this is not limited to folks at the senior housing sites. This is open to the public. So if you're interested in supporting local organizations and shopping local, and of course, getting the most bang for your buck, we welcome you at our mobile farm stand. And like I said, it's really fun. We make it really fun with our youth. We always have young people, and there's a beautiful connection happening with our seniors. It's amazing to be a part of. Just some numbers, you know, talking about our impact. In 2021, we served over 300 people on our mobile farm stand. We actually saw 5 times the increase in SNAP transactions right here in Montclair. We attended over 40 pop-up markets, which was pretty incredible. We're connected to the Orange Valley Arts Market. We attended the Bullock Eco Fair, Essex County Environmental Fair, Belleville's Environmental Center. We frequent Montclair First House Montclair, Pine Ridge Senior Housing. Those are our 2 regular sites. And then we're also at Cedar Grove's Robert O'Toole Center, Orange High School's Farmers Market, and the Wally Choice Community Center. To touch on some of our youth programs, we offer a Sweet Pea program and a more recent one called Sprouts, which is really geared to the younger kids in elementary school. We're really passionate about having kids, you know, use their curiosity, all of their senses, and engage in the natural world. We're all about getting down and dirty and having them explore. It's just really fun and exciting to see them learn over the years. And it's just so engaging to get them out of the classroom and in the gardens and let their curiosity run rampant. It's really beautiful. More recently, we were awarded a USDA grant to help stimulate the demand for organic grains in New Jersey through our youth entrepreneurship program, which we're calling the Farmpreneurs. Every year, we're going to be selecting about 10 students to come out onto the farm for a paid internship where they'll be focusing on job training skills, entrepreneurship, culinary arts, and agriculture in the hopes to stimulate the demand for organic grains. And this presentation was made by our kids, so we're really proud of them. So what do these young people come out and learn about? So agriculture is really important. We are a community garden, so they are getting, some of them for the first time, really hands-on experience in the garden, connecting to plants, understanding the connection to their food system. We schedule different field trips all across New Jersey to organic farms. Last year, we visited Mevo. We went out to North Slope Farm. We connected with other people who are working in our food system. Another cool thing that we did with our youth was actually have them grow their own specialty crops. So they had to see a plant from seed to sale, which was really, really important for them to make that very important connection. They also supported us tending to our bees and chickens on a regular basis, which was fun and exciting for them. It's really amazing. Our group of kids kind of gain, they definitely gain culinary skills. So part of this program is actually developing a value-added product. So they have to think critically, create a recipe. They have to source their own materials. They get to work in a commercial kitchen, making these items. They get to learn from workshop presenters, local bakers and chefs and food innovators. They also get to test and sample their products, which is really cool. And then finally, they make their products in bulk and distribute and sell on the farm stand. The entrepreneurship aspects, we were following a very simple entrepreneurship program called the TREPS curriculum. And that just gave them like business 101, which is really cool. They created their own business plans. They researched similar products in the community, and they definitely got to connect to some true entrepreneurs right here in Montclair and gain some inspiration. So why are we working on the small grain movement? We hear about all these different people working on different areas, trying to promote a better, stronger food system. There's been a push to increase the demand for organic grains, and a lot of farmers in New Jersey are attempting to shift from conventional grain farming to organic. And there are very amazing benefits to doing so. And our job is to help educate people to support these local farmers and have them invest and give them the resources to shift from conventional to organic. Local grains are helping to rebuild healthier soil. So we know that legumes and grains actually sequester nitrogen and deposit that back into the atmosphere. So we're helping rebuild the soil. We're definitely helping our local food system. So we're partnering with River Valley Community Grains, who's been connecting with grain farmers all across the Northeast and pushing their products out onto the market. More and more farmers are becoming limited in the amount of space that they can actually grow in. So we really want to be able to support them any way we can. And a lot of these farmers are actually using grains in their crop rotation. So on a year where instead of allowing their fields to go fallow and rest, they're incorporating grains, which is helping them maximize the use of their space. And of course, organic grains are healthier and they taste better. So many of you may be asking or wondering, what are value-added products? A value-added product is basically the process of changing or transforming a product from its original state. Most people can relate to tomato sauce. So that's basically taking a tomato, turning it into something that's a lot more shelf stable, and you're increasing the value. So instead of having to sell that tomato overnight before it rots, you turn it into a tomato sauce, and then you can take your time selling it. Our farmpreneurs, these are just some more numbers. For year one in sales, we had about 18 students participate in our program from April to November. And in that time, they worked about 1,500 hours. They made $12,000 in wages, 70 pizzas, 13 packages of spelt pancakes, 25 granola bags, 180 donuts, thanks to Montclair bread, 12 jars of herb salt, herb butter, herbal mixes, pea shoots, lots of eggs, and some bags and t-shirts. And if I have time, which I think I do, I'm going to play a quick video of a short clip that our youth created to apply to a Northeast Agricultural Summit, which they got into. Oh. I gotta take off my headphones. I think this is what happened to Jose. All right, let's try this.
Farm. This summer we got.
All righty.
We are the farmpreneurs at Montclair Community Farm. This summer we got the opportunity to work with the USDA project to help strengthen our food system.
The goal of this program is to help stimulate the demand for local organic grains with value-added products.
And as a result, strengthen the local food system and improve income and economic opportunities for the Jersey farmers.
Open questions. I love food and work with more.
We also gain culinary skills while making our grain-based value-added. Each week we take our organic veggies and products to communities in need.
Some ways you can strengthen your food system are shop local.
You can start your own garden and grow your own food. You can start your own compost bin.
Join our stock community garden.
We
are the farmpreneurs. Thank you for your consideration.
So as you can see, we had a group of amazing young people who some for the first time are actually working in a garden. So this opportunity was very impactful and transformative, and we're super proud of all the work that they contributed, and we're looking forward to another season. So these are just some quotes from some of our youth over the summer, learning about food systems and our role. Delaney said that we learned all about the sustainability of farming, about entrepreneurship. She says teamwork, value of organic products, how to be a part of the market and to be allies. And the trips showed us how important farming is to our food system. So it's really about exposure and empowering youth. We are actually recruiting for our farmpreneur program. So if you know of any high school juniors or seniors who are interested, this is a paid internship. We'd love to have them. So please have them send their application over. It's on our website, which I think I'm going to link to. Open for questions if anything came through. And I think the last slide is just sharing some contact information. So once again, if you know of any juniors or seniors in Essex County who are looking for summer employment, I implore you to share our information with them. We are looking forward to a fun, exciting season. And that's all.
Thank you, Lana. I always look forward to hearing from you guys every year. Always a pleasure.
Right back at you.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, terrific. Okay, I'm Janet from Purple Dragon Co-op. We've been going for close to 35 years. We started as a way to bring organic food into the area at prices closer to wholesale. And a few years into it, Whole Foods opened up, which was ironic because I actually trained 2 of the people that started Whole Foods, but not all of them. And I didn't train them how to be a multinational because I don't know how to do that. And I don't want to. Anyway, we've been working all these years trying to support small local organic farmers and bring well-priced organic food to the local families. So a lot of groups do similar things, and there's groups that do things that aren't so similar. So I wanted to talk a little bit about when you buy from a big store, big chain. I need you to stop, Rich. So, you know, we go into these places and we go, oh, look at these great prices, but there's a price for those great prices. I get calls more often than you would imagine from small local farmers, and they'll call me and they'll say, Janet, such and such large chain store is asking to buy our crop at a price that's going to put us out of business. Can you help us? Can you buy the entire crop? And pardon me. And I do every time so far, but you know, it's not easy. And part of what we need to be able to help these farmers and pay them prices that keep them in business is for you all to buy with us. If people buy with us, then we have a larger base and we can afford to buy more of the food that these farmers need us to buy. One thing that happened this summer was the local kiwiberry farmer who's organic, who's really the national, if not the international, Hearty Kiwiberry farm expert. I don't know if you've ever seen these. These are kiwi berries that are about this big and they have no fuzz. And because he's such an expert in them and has worked on developing his own varieties over these years, his taste much better. There's a thing in produce called a Brix measurement, which is kind of sugar and nutrients overall. And his Brix measurement is really high, so his kiwi berries taste really delicious. And he, for some reason, I guess the pandemic made it difficult for him, and it was hard for him to get pickers because, you know, these farms don't use automatic equipment. They have people come in and pick, like farm workers all over the place. And so he sent us a lot more kiwi berries than we were expecting, like by thousands of pounds. And as we got, you know, toward the end of it, we were giving our co-op members, by the way, not saying anything about how Purple Dragon works, get a mixed box of organic and very alternatively grown local produce every 2 weeks. We get mostly organic local produce. And there's always local in our boxes. So some groups, you know, don't get local all year round, or some CSAs shut down. We have local organic in our boxes all year round. Anyway, so the kiwi farm sent us all these berries, and we were giving our members kiwi berries, and the berries were starting to get soft, and we felt that we needed to, you know, stop loading people up with them, even though they have twice the antioxidants of blueberries. And we were donating them. We were giving them to firehouses and the police stations. And we just, you know, we're still having all of them, which we paid for. So I decided I needed to make a product out of them. And I tried to go to different processors that I knew and have them make a product for us. And nobody had experience working with them. And then New Jersey opened up that you could process at home if you got like a license. So we did that. And then we made this after some experimentation. We made a Hearty Kiwiberry Jam, which people tell us is really delicious. So it's made of these local organic Hearty kiwi berries, these little tiny kiwi without any fuzz that have twice the antioxidants of blueberries. And then we added some other ingredients, all local, all organic, to make this delicious jam, which some people like so much they eat it out of the bottle. And we had a similar thing happen. Most of the apples grown locally are not grown organically because there's not really the tools in place for growing local organic apples. Most of the local apples are grown by IPM, that's Integrated Pest Management. And there are 2 farms in upstate New York that grow local organic apples. But we don't ever get them down here. But this year we did. And for one farm, we try to really support the farmers and make it as easy for them as possible. And one farm, you know, he said, like, I got this, I got that. And then he would bring different amounts than what he said he had. And so what we did is we just told him, just bring everything you have, we'll buy it all. So we did that, and we were putting his apples in our shares. And at a certain point, we just had some left over, and we thought people were getting tired of them, and some of them weren't the best eating apples. They were better for cooking. So we had them made into, this is a local certified organic applesauce. You can't get this anywhere. Nice. And we put cinnamon in it, and it's really good. So if you want to support these farmers, if you buy these products from us, it really helps us. Also with the kiwi jam, we also made a chocolate version. Nice, Janet. Do you have contact information I could share with everyone so they could get in touch with you and try to get some? Can you share our screen and we can put our website up? We'll do that very quickly, and we just need to get on to our next speaker. Okay. Time.
Here. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Doug, for that. I'm Eloisa Trinidad. I'm the founder and executive director of Vegan Activist Alliance. So our focus is really liberation, justice, and community. So who are we at Vegan Activist Alliance? We were founded on the belief that all beings have a natural right to their autonomy and to live free from oppression, regardless of species. And we're an anti-speciesist organization working to end the exploitation of animals through a collective liberation approach. And so we seek to build community and to empower activists, whether they're in the animal rights movement or the environmental movement, to fight for liberation of our planet, of our people, through really looking at how everything is interconnected. So we take an abolitionist and radically inclusive approach, which is anti-racist and anti-colonial, since we believe that through colonization, the past 529 years have really completely sped up the destruction of our food systems as well as climate change. So what is collective liberation? Collective liberation is an anti-oppression commitment that seeks the liberation of all beings, both human and beyond human, and the protection and liberation of our planet. And we try to do this through a holistic and interconnected approach. And why do we do that? So we feel that as a Black and Indigenous-led organization, that Indigenous sovereignty has to be at the forefront of fighting for all liberation, including the protection of our planet. Indigenous people at the moment globally are protecting over 80% of our biodiversity. And in the United States, over 70% of Indigenous people actually live in urban areas, not on reservations. And with this collective liberation approach, we look at plant-based nutrition and veganism as a way to really focus on planetary health, water protection, and land protection. So as many folks may know, factory farms also tend to be located in low-income Black and brown communities, and it impacts the health of those communities, which is a form of environmental racism. And it leads to all different types of health issues as well. And within slaughterhouse and factory farm work, most of the folks that are oppressed through these systems are actually immigrants and, again, poor Black and brown people. And animal agriculture is also one of the leading causes of species extinction, ocean dead zones, water pollution, and habitat destruction. It is also responsible for over 91% of Amazon destruction. So we really look at transforming this food system towards a more plant-forward and sustainable food system as a way to liberate ourselves and liberate our planet. And at the focus of all that, as I mentioned before, is decolonization. We support the land back movement, as well as land access and water access for all people who have been oppressed through the last 529 years of Western colonization. We are very much focused on food food justice initiatives. One of the initiatives that we have are community fridges. And what these community fridges really offer is an immediate way to provide food relief for folks, bring communities together through food, and provide education on collective liberation. They are open 24/7, and they're actually just open to the public, so anyone can donate food and also grab food. And we seek to stigmatize the stigma that comes from needing food or asking for help. A lot of our food is rescue food, which would otherwise go to waste, which ties into our passion as far as planetary health and environmental protection. Some of our accomplishments in 2021 were through our coalition work, we actually helped shape proposed legislation and policy to move our food system towards a more plant-forward food system and to protect animals in entertainment, and taking money out of animals in entertainment to actually reinvest it in education and in food justice initiatives. One of these bills is actually the Healthy Future Students and Earth Act, which seeks to provide plant-based foods to students across the country and also support local farmers and growers from historically marginalized communities, as well as veterans, women farmers, and indigenous farmers as well. That bill is out now. So wherever you are in the country, you can actually just write to your representative and please ask them to co-sponsor HR 4108. We've also collaborated with anti-poverty groups and food justice groups throughout the pandemic through provide pandemic relief to students as well as individuals and families. We love working with non-vegan social justice organizations. We really believe that the way forward in fighting climate change and providing food access to folks in fighting for liberation is through coming together. So building alliances and coalition is really at the forefront of the work that we do. So we don't just specifically work with folks that are working on animal rights issues, as we believe that all of us need to come together in order to move forward and heal. And over 100 activists joined us from across the world. So we're a really new organization. We're about 2 years old. And because of our connected approach to liberation, we have really gotten the attention of folks that are working in the environmental movement or the animal rights movement. Historically, both of these movements have not centered the folks that are most impacted through climate change or through oppression, which tend to be indigenous folks, Black folks, and other brown and people of the global majority.
Eloisa, thank you for going over these accomplishments. I apologize. I just want to make sure that some of our other speakers have time. Please forward your organization's contact information over to Jose, and we will be sure to share it with the conference this afternoon. Do you have a screen maybe that just shows some contact information for us?
Yes, so our contact is here, which is Vegan Activist Alliance. You can just Google veganactivistalliance.org. And some of our projects in New Jersey are community fridges in the Clifton School District, which are coming up, sustainability education in schools, as well as community fridges throughout Jersey City, and working with the Library on Sustainability program and partnering with BIPOC groups in New York as well.
Nice. Thank you, Eloisa, for all this very important information. We're looking forward to following along as you continue to make success in this new year.
Thank you, Doug.
Miss Deborah Kagan, great to see you again from the MJ Bike and Walk Coalition. I have been following along closely over the years with you guys. I know we originally had about 10 minutes allotted for you, if it's okay. To try and keep your presentation this afternoon to about 5 minutes, we will be greatly appreciative. We just have a lot of different organizations and folks here this afternoon who are trying to share their projects with us. We want to make sure everyone has time. Deborah, please take the floor.
Thank you, Doug. Yes, I want to get to hearing Melissa too, so I'll make this as short as I can. My name is Deborah Kagan. I'm the executive director of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition. And I'm going to talk just briefly about the current status of the Essex Hudson Greenway project. So for those of you who don't know, the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition is the only statewide advocacy organization for bicyclists and pedestrians. And what we see is a real connection between that and creating a more rideable, walkable Jersey means a more livable, equitable, and sustainable New Jersey. For the past 2 years, we have worked in partnership with the Open Space Institute and the September 11th National Memorial Trail to work on creating the Essex Hudson Greenway project and bringing it to a reality. So just very quickly, if you don't know what the Greenway is, it's a nearly 9-mile proposed Greenway between Montclair and Jersey City. It goes across Newark and through Jersey City and 8 other municipalities and runs along the old Booton Railway line. And we see this as a project that creates an opportunity for not only recreation and transportation, but also health and sustainability in the area. Very briefly, these are sort of the interconnected areas of benefits for the project. I'm not going to go into them since we're short of time. There is an EssexHudsonGreenway.org website that has lots of this information, as well as the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition.org. We have a tab on the project. This is a map that shows the interconnectivity with existing trails. And I'm showing this because I want to sort of build on the theme of this local to global idea. You can see that the green line, which is the Greenway, could be a spine to a greater network in this area, including a greater, what we call North Jersey Urban Trail Network. And there is currently an initiative in the state to connect up different trail systems, both in Mid-Jersey and South Jersey, and that's called the New Jersey Trails Action.org. And everybody who's interested in building out the trail network in New Jersey can go and join with that. There was recently a summit that was hosted by DEP and New Jersey DOT this fall. So I will get quickly to the status of the project. Again, building on this local to global idea, this project has been in the making for almost 20 years. It started with local grassroots efforts on this end, including Montclair and Bloomfield. In 2014, our organization took this on as a major campaign. In 2020, the Open Space Institute secured a purchase and sale agreement with the railroad to buy the land. So that's almost 9 miles for $65 million. And the agreement was to have a government agency take on the project and buy it. And that agreement terminated in January of 22. So during this whole period, I did present the Greenway last year at this summit, and there's been so much that's happened in the last year. I want to just take a moment to thank everybody who helped to build this advocacy campaign. You wrote letters, you called the governor, we did presentations, you helped organize. And the result was that we had over 8,000 letters of support from county and state officials. We did tremendous number of partnerships and have 120 supporting organizations, including resolutions from all of the towns except for one and both counties, and many, many elected officials and local leaders. I just wanted to point this one partnership out since Jose spoke this morning about the connections with the Data C. There was a great effort by the Archdiocese of Newark through St. Lucy's Church, which has the largest Hispanic population. We did a very intentional bilingual outreach around this project, and they took this up as their mission as part of La Data Si. So I thought that was really interesting and a good connection with what Jose spoke about this morning. All of this advocacy and work has led to a moment of victory for us. In November, Governor Murphy and the state released a press announcement that the state of New Jersey would buy and take on the Essex Hudson Greenway project for $65 million. And he spoke about the Greenway as becoming the crown jewel of New Jersey's state park system. So we're very excited that this is a major achievement and victory in this project. And if you didn't hear about it, I hope you feel as excited as we all are about it now. And these are the next steps. So the funding for the project is going to be a combination of the Department of Environmental Protection, the New Jersey Transit, and the American Rescue Plan funding. The Open Space Institute is now working to finalize the transaction between the railroad and the state of New Jersey. This is an extremely complicated transaction, as you can imagine. If you've ever bought property or a house, it's like 1,000 times more complicated. The current agreement expired in January of 22. And because the state has come out publicly and agreed to take this on, the DEPOSI and Norfolk Southern have announced an extension of the purchase agreement. And that agreement will extend till the end of June. So we have this great period in which to complete and close the transaction. And we will be continuing to work with communities and build our community engagement, especially going into the next periods, which will be planning and design and understand and respect, and we'll make sure that communities have a voice in what this project will look like as it goes through their towns and communities. So for more information, you can go to the EssexHudsonGreenway.org. If you are an organization that has not signed up to support, there is a form that you can fill out to join. And this is our website, New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition.org. There is a tab there on the Greenway. And this is my email. Please feel free to contact me directly if you're interested in working on this project. There's a lot more to say about this. I'm happy to do presentations with groups going forward, but I respect the time, and I'm also very anxious to listen and hear from Melissa.
Thank you so much, Deborah. It's great to see the different progress that your organization makes year after year. Very important stuff. Lord knows that we're all trying to save money on gas. And with that being said, I want to bring in our next featured speaker. It is Miss Melissa Miles, the Executive Director of the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance, coming out of the Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. And I'm just organizing my screen here. Sorry, Melissa, give me a minute. Hello, Melissa, great to see you. So our friend Melissa is a grassroots activist and organizer living in an environmental justice community in Newark, New Jersey. Long considered the region's dumping ground, called a sacrifice zone and a waste shed by advocates, it is fertile soil for seeding activism and growing visionaries. NJEGA was part of a coalition that worked to have the nation's strongest law to protect overburdened communities from pollutants enacted in New Jersey, and that was Bill S-232 in 2020. She is also a member of the New Jersey Environmental Justice Advisory Council, a very important body, responsible for advising state agencies, including the Department of Environmental Protection, on issues of environmental justice. Miles belongs to several national environmental protection Miles belongs to several national coalitions, including the Climate Justice Alliance, Moving Forward Network, the Coalition for Healthy Ports, and the International Coalitions, the Movement of People Affected by Dams, and the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives. Without further ado, a speaker that we are all highly anticipating, give it up for Melissa Miles.
Thanks, Doug. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear, Miss. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Jose for inviting me to speak with you all today. This is my first time speaking at the Northeast Earth Coalition, so I'm really excited and honored to be with you today. And I just want to mention at the top that I actually have a hard stop at 2, so we won't be together as long as we originally hoped, but I think it was worth it. We heard from so many amazing presenters this morning. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Sorry. Okay.
You know which button to hit, right, Miss Melissa?
Yes, sir. I just, you know that.
I know.
Sorry, I got a little confused.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm gonna share my screen. And the seconds tick by while she figures out her tech.
Good. Apologize.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Nice.
Let me just put this on my slideshow. So I gotta go to the first one. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, here we go. That's me. Yes,
Hey.
I am Melissa, the ED of NJEJA, New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. What's next? So, you know, just to let you know a little bit about what I'm going to be speaking about, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about NJEJA, a little bit about what we do or the problem as we see it, and then some of the vision that we share, we hold with other communities for, you know, where we can go, and then some local solutions to these problems. So for me, you know, the problem was helplessness. That's kind of where my story started in environmental work. I have a background in out of school time education and youth development. That's always been my passion. It still is. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that, you know, creator willing, like that's where my trajectory will take me again one day. You know, one day I just had this, I started to have this really serious climate anxiety that, you know, we hear so many young people are dealing with today, but yeah, that was me. And it just, one day I woke up and I was like, you know, college may be a moot point for kids in my community if they can't get to school because of, you know, flooding, or really at that point, it was like, you know, what was worrying me heavily was gas shortages and the fact that so many folks were like reliant on supermarkets, and, you know, no one was growing food, and like we would all starve, right? So you know, one day it just occurred to me that, you know, college, I had to do some other things to address this, you know, to make college and things like that even possible for young people that I worked with. So, you know, one thing that really inspired me, and everyone's talking about it today, is that idea of going, you know, starting local towards global movements. And the late Dr. Wangari Maathai, who I know you all have heard of, said that it's very important for us to take action at the local level, because when we think of global problems, we get disempowered, right? So that's exactly where I was. It's like climate change, all this, what do I do? But when we take action at the local level, we get empowered, right? And so I didn't know it at that point, but that's what it was going to take for me to shed the anxiety and the helplessness, was the local action. So NJEJA, we are the only statewide environmental organization that's led by Black, Indigenous, and people of color on both our staff and board that I know of. There may be more now. One thing New Jersey is ripe with is environmental organizations. So, you know, there could very well be more, but at one point we were the only. What I do know we're the only statewide organization that was founded as an EJ organization and continues to be committed wholly to EJ communities. So, you know, that's kind of important because EJ, environmental justice, has become like very popular, which is a good thing. You know, organizations, you know, when legislation and funding, everything has to take into account EJ communities now, which is great. But I think also we have to be conscientious that, you know, communities of color, organizations of color, have been historically overlooked. And so we don't want to replicate that kind of inequity in the environmental movement. I mean, actually, it's been a problem for a long time, but that's why the EJ movement was founded, was because, unfortunately, you know, many of the large traditional and white-led organizations would not come to the aid of communities of color that were dealing with egregious pollutants. And so like communities of color had to make their own environmental movement that, now is very much, being accepted by the larger environmental movement, but we want to make sure that doesn't become like co-opting or displacing, the folks who, have been in this work for, since the beginning. So our priority issues include air pollution, climate change, cumulative impacts. We'll talk a little bit about that, energy and education. And we are an important member of regional and national grassroots EJ movement. That sounds a little like we're so important, but it's serious. We're like actually in the leadership bodies of many of these organizations between our staff, our very, very small staff, and our very active board. We are on the steering committee for the Coalition for Healthy Ports, which is right here in New York and New Jersey. Any of you who are passionate about like trucks and diesel and electrification and goods movement, I heard folks talking about the externalized costs of things like, there is an externalized cost to using Amazon. There's an externalized cost for one-day delivery. And communities closest to the port here in New Jersey bear a lot of that cost. So if you're interested in that, I suggest you can just Google it and find out some more information, or you can email me directly and get more information about the coalition. And that's a regional entity. And in that same vein, we're part of the Moving Forward Network. I'm on the steering committee of that. And that is a national entity that works with communities, like frontline communities dealing with goods movement. And it's so amazing because I have like direct access to folks dealing with inland ports in Chicago and folks out in LA, with the largest port in the country. We're the third largest port, and getting to share information and strategies. And it's just, it's how we build power as small grassroots entities. We're also on the board, the steering committee for the Building Equity and Alignment for Impact, which is now actually for EJ. And that's an entity that takes funders, traditional environmental organizations, and grassroots and EJ organizations. And like, we all come together to talk about, how we can build for power across these sector lines. Another really important organization, and then a bunch of others that are also really, really important. One that you all may be interested in is Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives, which has so much information on waste, which is also a major issue for New Jersey, right? There's a reason why New Yorkers will call us like the armpit of New York. I know about that. We take their waste, right? And the poor communities in New Jersey take the wealthier communities' waste. By waste, I mean your trash, your recyclables, your wastewater from your toilets. Yes, that goes somewhere, more externalized costs. Okay, so I just have a few slides and pictures. Some of those I took myself. I do not live in Newark any longer. I'm actually probably neighbors with you all, some of you all, because I live in Summit. More recently, during the pandemic, I moved, but I got started in Newark as a person who traveled to New York every single day for everything. And then I got pregnant with my first son, and I said, well, let me see what's happening here in Newark and stop going to the PATH train every day. And at that point, I had lots of friends who had been inviting me to things forever, like inviting me to testify at hearings for the Passaic River cleanup, and inviting me to climate rallies, and getting me to do truck counting, and it was all something interesting to do. And then I had my son and I was home, so I kind of accelerated the pace of community-based activities because I didn't want to travel to New York. And then I had my other son, but long story short, my own children started to show impacts of living in an environment polluted by diesel, from a variety of sources. We lived across the street from a plastic factory. Newark is an EJ community because it really bears the burden of the region's infrastructure. So like I literally lived across the street from a factory that made plastic bags. You can't find things like that in wealthier communities because the zoning doesn't allow for it. And, you know, we could talk all day long about the racist history of zoning in the United States and why certain communities are like ghettoized, why it is that, you know, why it is that you can find highways crisscrossing Newark, why you can get from the suburbs to New York without ever setting foot in Newark. Like there's reasons for that, but we're not going to go into all that today. So these are just some trucks. This is like, you know, a normal day in the Ironbound of Newark. You see all kind of diesel polluting trucks right at, you know, nose level for regular people. Diesel is a carcinogen, is some really nasty stuff, many health impacts. This is a metal recycling facility right across the street from a community member's house. This is about 4 or 5 blocks from where I used to live in Newark, across the street from the plastic factory. So like, imagine your house face this every day. And, you know, we think of recycling as a great thing, right? Like, yeah, you know, but it goes somewhere and it's not always pretty to look at. More recycling, that's paper recycling in the Ironbound. You know, we just always want to think when we put that in the bin, you know, that we're doing the right thing, but recycling is kind of like the end of the line, right? It's the next worst thing to discarding. You know, we actually have to produce less and in a different way at the start, and then use less and in a different way. But so yeah, we have this, imagine what that looked like during storms, you know, because that stuff is open air. Yes, it is as messy as it looks. And then there are all the containers, those are port containers. You know, there are certain parts of the Ironbound in Newark where you can see those. And, you know, that's part of the infrastructure of goods movement. You know, those goods got to come in but, you know, there was a time when we exported things. We don't export as much anymore. Our main export is trash now. When I love being with young people, because then we can do the back and forth. I'm like, what do you think we export? And they have all these things. And it's like, nope, we export trash to other places for, you know, poor people to dig through our toxins. Yeah, very sad. So this is just a graph that my colleague, Dr. Nikki Sheets, who many of you have probably heard of, likes to use. It's a little old, but it came from the DEP, and it basically shows, you know, the correlation between the percent minority of your neighborhood and how much pollution you're going to be exposed to. And this is true pretty much all around the country. This is why we have EJ communities. The color of your skin is the #1 determinant of whether or not you will live in a community that suffers from the impacts of pollution. And then the next is income. And income and race track pretty closely in this country. So, you know, if you're Black or brown or indigenous, you know, you are going to be way more likely to live around pollution than even poorer white people, but wealthier white people, of course, right? There's many reasons for that too. Environmental justice. So when we talk about environmental justice, we're talking about the principles of environmental justice and the James principles for democratic organizing are like really what we base our EJ behavior on, you know, how we kind of move in this environmental world. And some of the most important ones that you probably heard of, people speak for themselves. We want to see meaningful participation of those that are most impacted when it comes to decision-making. So nothing about us without us. It addresses the root causes. So even though I'm kind of, you know, brushing over issues of race and class and zoning, those are the root causes of why, you know, colonialism, like they've been mentioned here today, those are the root causes. You know, but, and we want to address root causes and that they're led by frontline and often BIPOC communities. There are communities in the United States, like in Appalachia, white communities that, you know, are definitely allies in the EJ movement and sit in the same spaces. And we know that situation in Appalachia is pretty serious with coal mining and the impacts of that. But the point just is that they are advocating for themselves at those tables. Okay, cumulative impacts. What is it? So you would think that when your community has a bunch of dirty, polluting facilities, that when a new one wanted to come in, it wouldn't be allowed, right? Like, because you have enough. But that wasn't the case in New Jersey until the EJ law was passed in 2020. And the EJ law isn't in action yet. It's still in rulemaking. So, this is still the case that, a community can't say to the DEP, which is the regulatory body that gives permits to pollute to entities, right? It says, okay, you can pollute up to this amount. So the DEP would say to us, well, they're not going to pollute more than the amount that they're allowed. So technically we can't say no. And we would say, but wait, there's a facility right across the street that also pollutes up to their amount, and one block away that also pollutes up to their amount. When you mix it all together, that stuff is killing us. They're like, well, we can't really do anything about it. So we pushed about 12 years. It was first proposed by Senator Weinberg, and did not go anywhere in the administration prior to Murphy, and got shelved. And then Senator Singleton brought it back as SB 232. And basically a whole storm of things happened to get that law passed, including the murder of George Floyd, which, brought nationwide and worldwide attention to inequities in this country and racism. And, people immediately started to see that I can't breathe meant two different things, right? It meant like the immediate impact of racism in the form of like militarism in Black and Brown communities. And it also meant the slow death by pollution. And, we were able to get this law finally through. So that is a little bit about that. Uh-oh, what did I do? Sorry. Oh, okay. All right, I'm just gonna move on because we don't have a lot of time. So let's get to some solutions. I think, this is like preaching to the choir. I feel like y'all are this is a hip crowd that understands, these problems. So I like this little design here because it goes from like, the beginning, which is extraction. And this is about mainly focused on plastic pollution, but, extraction as the root of the issue. Extraction, we talk about a lot in our movement because it takes a lot of forms. So, extraction can be the extraction of bodies from a community. Like, how do we make it so that communities can be polluted and gentrified, and extracting bodies through like the military industrial complex or the prison industrial complex or drugs or whatever, and, to the production of pollution in the many ways that it happens, to the distribution of the wealth from that, because like none of this is accidental. Somebody gets rich off of all of it. And then the consumption, which is this, the heartbreaking part. That's where our choice comes in a sense, like as consumers of different things, not just products, but ideas. And then, that's often where we see a lot of efforts focused to change people's minds about their consumption. But as we see, we can resist all the way at the point of extraction and other points as well. And then you have, the disposal. So basically, like we have an economy and a society that dig, burns, and dumps, that extracts at the cost of people and planet, that produces at a cost of people and planet, that consumes at the cost of people and planet, and that disposes at the cost of people and planet. But there are ways that we can resist that all along that cycle. And, it's interesting. This is kind of what helped me to not feel helpless, is to realize there are many points of intervention in any cycle of destruction when it comes to the environment. This is another simple one: extraction, production, distribution, consumption, disposal. And then here is, the framework for the just transition. And so it looks at the extractive economy, the mindsets and, you know, the way that it operates. And it kind of gives us a map on how we change that into a living economy that centers cooperation, you know, caring and sacredness, ecological and social well-being, deep democracy, where the people are really deciding, you know, where power is drawn down from, you know, the top into the communities. How do we divest from that system of extractive economy into a living economy? And it's a huge thing, right? This is talking about a whole system. What does this look like in communities? Well, I think we've heard a lot about what this looks like in communities. It looks like farming. It looks like people, co-ops. It looks like people taking action in the place that they feel passionate about, whether it's, you know, veganism or, you know, community food sharing, and, you know, whatever it may be. There's a place where you are passionate, and what's important is you find your point of intervention in the cycle that you see is like threatening that thing that you love. So, you know, what's beautiful about EJ is that our communities are not victims, right? We learn to take the lead in our own struggle. You know, and people like folks in the Ironbound have been doing that for decades already. You know, we come together as community to share our skills and our products. You know, we teach our young people how to work with the earth, you know, even in the middle of a concrete jungle, right? Like, we teach ourselves and our community. We share food, you know, we share resources, we share ideas. And, you know, all of this really leads to a better quality of life for everyone. And, you know, it's where the creativity for solutions happens. It doesn't happen in government. You know, they are not, our government's not going to save us. Like, we have to bring them the solutions. We have to test them in our own communities, you know, with our own folks, and show success that inspire others. And so I just wanted to end with a quote, one of my favorite, you know, just to that point that each one of us really has a role to play. And it's not just about, you know, like your bottle. Your bottle's important, right? And your bag is important, your reusable bag, but it goes deeper, right? To us believing that we, as individuals, have a role to play in the whole, in interrupting that cycle. And so the quote is, a great revolution in just a single individual will help achieve a change in the destiny of a nation, and further will enable a change in the destiny of all humankind. Human revolution, in other words, refers to raising one's gaze beyond one's restricted, ordinary, everyday world, and striving for and dedicating oneself to achieving something more lofty, more profound, more all-embracing. And I will stop there. Thank you so much. I think we have a few minutes for questions. I'm not sure if there were any.
Just going to say, but first off, thank you for all that. That was wonderful information to hear this afternoon. Let's see, any questions for Melissa while we have her? As you can see, our friend is definitely in popular demand, and she's got to go keep the fight up. Hard 2 o'clock stop time, and we're going to respect that for you. So again, any comments for Melissa? You can feel free to raise your hand also and ask directly if you would like to get your face.
Melissa, thank you for your wonderful presentation. You touched my heart with everything that you said. We are all related and we are all connected. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And my email is right here beneath my photo. So if anyone would like to follow up, would like to chat, please do reach out.
Why is law still in rulemaking process and not passed yet? Pam was asking something.
Yes. So I believe that the first draft of the rules will be released this quarter. That's what the DEP said. So, you know, it's very complex, even though we have a law. You know, what happens, and I'm sorry if I'm oversimplifying this, but you know, loopholes can happen. Regulations can actually end up being weak, or we find that there's not an actual way to enforce the law. So the law is just kind of like the framework. The regulations are what make it possible to actually enforce it on the ground. So, you know, we did a lot of back and forth. So even after the law was passed, we worked with the DP for months and months and months. So you might hear some organizations saying, I mean, it's sad, like there are a lot of organizations taking credit for the EJ law because they wrote comments, which is a wonderful thing. Like, you know, when we say like, hey, this is important, we need everyone to write comments, that's amazing. But then we saw like organizations fundraising on work that they actually like, you know, the organizations that were, you know, really working closely with the DEP, we met with them every week, sometimes twice a week for months and months and months, both on the law and then on the regs. And it was a lot of work. And yeah, so yeah, it just takes time. They got to get it right. And some of you may have heard of a campaign in the Ironbound against the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission building a new gas burning generation plant. They're trying to strengthen their infrastructure, their heart. And so so that is about PVSC is the largest sewage treatment plant in the East Coast. So that, and it's right in the Ironbound. It's flush your toilet. That's where it goes.
When did they propose this idea? Did they submit applications for that?
They did quite some time ago after Superstorm Sandy.
Where in Newark?
It's in the Ironbound section near Doremus Avenue, which is where a lot of the industry is.
That's where
it'll be on their site. But you have to understand the Ironbound already has multiple energy generating facilities. They're across the street from a pretty new gas burning facility that PVSC, if they really wanted to make sure they would have a direct contract with this facility across the street, you know, and it's not, you know, it's just more of the same. So they can do that because they got in before the law.
Of course.
But we're fighting it anyway. They're fighting it. And they're putting up such a great fight in coalition with so many New Jersey environmental groups and activists and individuals. So it's really a beautiful instance of collaboration between many communities to protect, you know, the people of this community.
Okay, nice. I love that. Any other questions? We got 2 minutes with her. We got 2 more minutes with her. If anyone else has another question.
It is not a question, but an announcement. The streamline has been shared 46 times on Facebook. So we have a large audience, virtual audience in social media.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Big reach.
Well, with that, I will take my leave. I appreciate you all. Please enjoy the rest of the conference.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us, Melissa. And we are excited and inspired to keep following along.
Thanks, Ed. Take care. Bye.
See you soon. We have heard from many amazing, important, inspiring groups and individuals this morning. And as we head into our afternoon, we have another tabling section that we are inviting people to sit in on. We're going to hear from 3 other local organizations. First up, we'll have the Montclair Area Solidarity Network, followed by the startup project Plant Raw. I guess we're hearing from Plant Raw again, which obviously, you know, I'm very excited for. And the Climate Lobby Group. So our 3 different tabling organizations, if you could, please raise your hands in the attendees group. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Keep the hand raised, please. Azar, hello again, sir.
I'm Annalise Scherfen. I'm from the Montclair Area Solidarity Network. Thank you, Doug. And thank you, Melissa, for that awesome presentation. I took extraction as the root of the issue down as a note because that to me is the root. So the Montclair Area Solidarity Network is a network of organizations and collectives who are committed in our support of prison and police abolition, harm reduction, mutual aid, and building dual power counter to institutions of the state. We are turning away from harmful capitalist systems and practices towards collective care, meeting each other's needs, and keeping each other safe. We run monthly mutual aid and harm reduction distributions, educational workshops, webinars, and discussions. We partner with organizations to create fun, educational, community building events. We plant tulip bulbs and wildflowers as part of our guerrilla gardening project, take part in community gardening, and support the NAEC free little pantries. We are currently working on creating a food co-op to address the inability of the local government or business to establish a supermarket for our residents in the 4th Ward of Montclair. And here is some more information about some of our affiliated organizations. The Montclair Area Harm Reduction Collective is a harm reduction group working to end the overdose crisis and empower members of the community impacted by the racist drug war. We promote harm reduction by distributing naloxone kits for overdose reversal, safer use supplies, educational materials, and other essentials within our community for everyone. Montclair Beyond Policing is a Montclair-based prison/police abolitionist group working to defund the police and build alternatives to policing that will keep our communities safe. And finally, Action Cat Distro is a mutual aid distro made up of Montclair area residents working to bring the community together to meet our basic needs and build dual power. Solidarity, not charity. Our next distro event is on Sunday, February 20th at 1 p.m. on the corner of Church Street, Fullerton, and Bloomfield. We'll have hats, gloves, hand warmers, harm reduction materials, and chai tea. We will also be doing a food drive for the Northeast Earth Coalition's free little pantries. So we ask everyone to stop by with some non-perishables from your own pantry and come share some chai tea and conversation. And finally, if you are interested in any of our affiliated groups that I described, you can reach out to us via email that's on the screen, and or you can check out our Facebook page, Montclair Area Solidarity Network. Thanks so much.
And I believe next up we have our Citizens Climate Lobby. I believe Linda is representing this afternoon. Feel free to unmute whenever you're ready, Linda.
Thanks. Yeah, hello. My name is Linda DeLapp. I'm a volunteer with Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm representing the Morristown area chapter. I'm co-leader of that chapter and filling in for your own local Montclair chapter for Ellen Berkowitz and Bui Zhang today. So let's see. I thought I would start out with a short video. I have a 2-minute video. It is. Let's see it. The sound is one of the best parts of this, so I want to make sure I can share that. Let's see.
Make sure at the where it's you have the screen share bar. It's like a little green bar.
Yeah.
That scroll over to where it says more, and
more.
Yeah, and there should be a button on there that says share sound. If it's not being shared, the button will be there.
Well, I'm not sure that the video's even come up yet. Let's see.
Video.
Let me try and get to it again. Oh, here we go. Huh. Okay. Well, I hope I'm going to be able to share things. Let's see. It's my Google Chrome. Huh. Oh dear. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. There's that.
Yeah, not quite sure what you're seeing on your screen, but
yeah.
I see a video right now. Oh, there you go. There's something.
Yeah, that's that. So that's good. and that will come later. I did introduce myself, thank you. And I'm trying to get this video up, but I am not able to. So, let me just see. Maybe it's not open on Chrome. Here, this might work. Let's try this. Okay. All right.
Point the arrow and click there. It's right there.
Yeah, I think it's
It's
there
right there.
now. Yes. And I need to make sure that you
Just
can hear the
click.
sound. I think tell me if you can hear it.
Yep, we can hear.
Okay, great. We're good then.
Yeah.
And I'll enlarge it. Okay. Oh, I have to start it again. Okay. All right. Okay, now I'll move back to those slides, hopefully. There, okay. And start here. Okay, so you can see from the video that Citizens Climate Lobby is a nonprofit organization. We try our best to be nonpartisan, and it's also a grassroots advocacy organization with goals of building political will for a livable world and empowering our volunteers. There's more information at citizensclimatelobby.org. I will say that the organization is really good about educating and supporting its volunteers and also giving it agency. We make a lot of our own decisions on the local level. We meet in chapters, usually once a month. And on our own or as small groups, we reach out to community leaders, the media, and members of the general public, tabling, making presentations. We form lobby groups and communicate with our members of Congress, regardless of where they fall on the political spectrum, seeking common ground and always advocating for climate solutions. The one that we favor is called Carbon Fee and Dividend. In this scheme, the industry, fossil fuel industry, will pay a fee or tax on its carbon emissions associated with its products. This sends a price signal to the economy that spurs conservation and encourages development of affordable clean energy. The effect works through the entire economy, reduces carbon emissions by 50% by 2030, and will put us on track for net zero emissions by 2050, reducing pollution fast and effectively, and thereby saving lives and improving health. Most low and middle income people will come out ahead financially, and the dividend cashback will compensate for the higher costs associated with the fee on fossil fuels. So what you could do today will be if you care to take action on climate today, you could go to cclusa.org/take-action and write to your senators and President Biden, asking them to take action against climate change.
Nice. Thank you, Linda, for sharing this helpful information.
Okay.
That's exactly how we try and get the support that we need to get the right things done. Thank you for joining us today, Linda. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we have another featured speaker, our last featured speaker this afternoon at our 7th annual Northeast Earth Conference. It is Montclair State University's own Amy Taninga, who is the director of the PSE&G Institute for Sustainability Studies. I also went to Montclair State University, so it's nice to have someone from my alma mater here. Amy works to create opportunities for students, faculty, and a wide range of stakeholders in corporations, nonprofits, startups, and government organizations to address and advance environmental, social, and economic sustainability. Her approach is rooted in systems science, and her experience with developing effective collaborations is based on her own research and mentoring of students. She has also worked closely with many individuals from a wide variety of disciplines and fields to secure funding and build support for their work. Collectively, they have developed scalable programs that continue to serve diverse groups. Prior to joining Montclair State, Amy held various faculty and administrative positions over at Fordham University and collaborated with the Wildlife Conservation Society to create Project True, Teens Researching Urban Ecology, a tiered mentoring program that serves underrepresented groups in STEM. Amy, it's so nice to see you again. I know that we were actually meeting a couple weeks ago to discuss some of what you actually do over at Montclair State. And I'm very excited to hear you share that all again with all of us here this afternoon.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And I hope you're seeing my slides now.
Yes.
Great. So, we've heard so much incredibly great information today, and I know it's been a long day on Zoom, so I'm hoping that I can kind of tie it all together in some of the things that I'll share with you. I'm focusing more on the community aspects of what we do and some of the gardening and the green pieces, but we do work on almost everything that's been discussed today, so I'd be happy to have conversations with folks as the interest comes along. So I'm Amy Taninga. As Doug mentioned, I'm the director of the PSEG Institute for Sustainability Studies at Montclair State University. And I'm trained as an ecosystem ecologist. And I'll share how our work with sustainability intersects with that. And most of my previous research has focused on how humans have impacted the environment. And I have the absolute honor of serving with Melissa Miles on the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Environmental Justice Advisory Council. And that is not by any means to say that I know or have experienced an even tiny bit of what Melissa knows, but by coming together with our different backgrounds, and I can bring the science and she has the experience and the expertise, we're able to solve some of these issues where we're not just looking at how humans are impacting the environment, but we're looking at how to stop humans impacting the environment in a way that impacts humans. So we're taking this to another level, and I think that's great. And to help us in that, you see here our director, Dr. Nina Goody, who is a chemist, but she's also very good at helping me write grant proposals to secure funds to support our programs, as well as, with a big emphasis on building out STEM, access to STEM education for very diverse groups. We work out of this beautiful LEED Gold certified building, the Center for Environmental and Life Sciences at Montclair State University, and I'll share more about the LEED piece of that in just a minute. And the PSEG Institute for Sustainability Studies Our mission, we advance sustainability by developing community-engaged research projects and building educational programs through academic, corporate, community partnerships. And I'll share with you a little bit about those today and how we act locally. Also on campus, we have Montclair State University Campus Community Garden that was founded in 2018. And many of you may also know Chris Snyder here, who has been around since the garden was very first started. He's run the garden. The mission for the garden is to strengthen the connections between Montclair State University and the community, and to raise awareness of the local food system by producing and donating produce and improving access and knowledge to growing food. And so since its beginning in 2018, in that first year, the garden was able to donate 600 pounds of produce to the Red Hawk Pantry and to Tony's Kitchen. This garden is about 1,000 square feet, and we're looking to build more of them on campus now with our new president, President Jonathan Coppell. He's very interested in community engagement and in some of the garden resources. So through Chris Snyder's work, we've also been awarded the Dig In grant from City Green. And so that's helped Chris a lot with the garden and building it out. Chris also oversees management of the green roof on the Cells building. And so this is a green roof that's available for research and or growing other edible kinds of things. This helps us to have this building LEED certified, and that's, as many of you know, leadership in energy and environmental design. And that's a globally recognized symbol of excellence in green building. So this LEED certification ensures electricity cost savings, lower carbon emissions, and healthier environments where people live and work, play and worship. And in the United States alone, buildings account for almost 40% of national CO2 emissions, but LEED certified buildings have 34% lower CO2 emissions, consume 25% less energy and 11% less water, and have diverted more than 80 million tons of waste from landfills. So we are happy to have these resources. And as Gar said earlier, we are one of those public universities that he mentioned. Montclair State University is a public Hispanic serving institution, and we do have a lot of resources to share. With COVID, state budgets, I do have to put a little caveat on one of the things that he said. We don't have a lot of funds to share, but we do have resources. We have great faculty. We have academic approaches to solving some of the problems. We have space and facilities. And so we do have resources, but not right now a lot of funds. So those were some of the facilities that we have that we work with. And now I'd like to share with you a little bit about the programs that we oversee and run that connect with the community. And one of our big programs is the Green Teams program. And this is a summer internship, a 10-week summer internship program that is large and involves 30 to 60 students a year. And these students come from all over the country and outside of the country into these paid internships, and they work on teams. So this Green Teams program allows the students in this unique academic corporate community partnership to engage individuals across different business sectors with academia and community groups to work towards more sustainable and resilient communities. And I'll give you some specific examples in just a minute. So our program, the Green Teams program, builds understanding through its diverse and transdisciplinary structure based on teamwork. And the impacts are deep and far-reaching. And the program trains students to be innovative, inclusive thought leaders that are needed to address society's greatest challenges, all of those things that we've been talking about today. Over the past 6 years, we've had varying numbers of students in the cohorts. Past 7 years, well, we're going into our 7th year now. Over the past 6 years, we've had students coming into the program, cohort sizes of 30 up to 60 students in a summer. And so we've had 270 students come through this program, and they've come from over 50 different colleges and universities and over 100 different degree programs. And we've placed them on 54 different teams that have served 32 organizations, so 32 different organizations, and you'll see those in just a second. Many of the organizations have come back year after year, and collectively these teams of students in partnership with the communities have served or completed 191 different projects. These are some of the organizations that we've served. And so there's nonprofits and government organizations and municipalities, as well as big multinational corporations, and then smaller local New Jersey-based organizations and companies. So I'll mention some of those as it relates to the community-based work. And these are some of the universities that the students have come from. So you see a lot of New Jersey universities, but many other universities from throughout the country and beyond as well. We have students coming from community colleges and Ivy Leagues and Hispanic serving institutions, public and private universities. So it's very diverse from every possible aspect. We train the students. We give them training in hard skills related to sustainability and sustainability science, and also a lot of soft skills. They get a leadership certificate and a communication certificate, and learn how to communicate professionally with some of the leaders in government and in industry and lots of nonprofit organizations. So many of them go on to careers immediately after the program, and others continue into graduate and professional school, and a lot of them are first generation college. And so we're helping them with a lot of those professional development kinds of pieces along the way. And so I'm going to highlight some of the organizations that we've partnered with and the things that we've done as a result. And one of those that I first met Tobias Fox, who runs Newark Science and Sustainability. I think you know him well. I first met him at one of the very first Northeast Earth Coalition conferences. I think it was probably the second one in 2016. And so we kept in touch, and we've partnered many times. And Newark Science and Sustainability, the mission, this is a nonprofit organization, and the mission is to increase the awareness of environmental, ecological, and wellness issues of the Newark community. And the focus of this organization is to give the community access to sustainably sourced produce through community gardens. And so they were asking us in 2019 to help them to expand their farm to table co-op, and also to design some urban farm management plan. And so we did that. We built out materials for them, developing a plan to tackle food insecurity in Newark through the creation of these educational tools for the urban farmers to reference. And we also helped them by designing best practice guides for urban farmers, connecting food initiative leaders in the northern New Jersey area, and then also designing for one of their sites this sustainable park. And then we continued working with them in 2020, and we started thinking, you know, there's a lot of community gardeners that may not be able to access the site where their community garden is. If it's in an urban setting, you know, their apartment might be separate. And so it might be helpful to be able to monitor on-site conditions remotely through a computer and see if you need to pop down and water the plants, or if the watering system has come on or not. And so we worked using a Raspberry Pi and built out a desktop dashboard so that you could monitor data remotely in the community gardens. And then we also built out some infographics and some educational materials. And so those educational materials, I personally love this. Oh, let me go back. So we created these infographics that are both in English and Spanish about, you know, these could be printed as cards, and they're about the things that are being grown in your garden. And then helped them to create a map of where these things are being grown. So you can see this beautiful infographic pointing to where in the garden you could find the radishes. And And then, you know, if you take an aerial view, you can see the radishes here. And so I think this is important for people that are getting into gardening the first time around, because, you know, everything looks like little green leaves. And how would you know where the radishes are? Because they're below ground. And so by helping people to navigate the garden, and you know, part of it's getting in there and getting your hands dirty and digging in the dirt, but this helps people to kind of understand what to expect and where to find things. So then we continued actually working with Tobias, you know, his community organizing skills, and he started pulling together community gardeners throughout Newark and throughout northern New Jersey, and under this new umbrella of the Newark Community Food System. And we worked with Almunir and again with Newark Science and Sustainability, but under this umbrella of the Newark Community Food System. And so this is another organization that helps community gardeners more broadly. And their mission is supporting and developing sustainability efforts in urban agriculture, wellness, and nutrition. And they're aiming to, you know, combat food insecurity and also take a look at the food systems in Newark. And this became, you know, really important during the pandemic when there were so many supply chain issues. So we started thinking about how best to help support community gardeners. And I think finally by the end of last summer, we started actually being able to offer something that was really, really meaningful and we hope to follow up on. And that is we started building these toolkits. And we got 25 different community gardeners together, the green team serving the Newark Newark Community Food Systems in 2021. Hosted an event, brought together these 25 community gardeners and offered them these toolkits. And within the toolkits are a lot of different pieces of equipment like scales and ways to collect data, and then some of the tools, the actual tools that you might need. So the next step here, and we started this already, is to start collecting data that the farmers can say, you know, this urban garden is of value, and it's a way to quantify the nutritional value, the amount of produce, the types of produce that are being grown, so that those gardeners can seek funding. And, you know, getting a small grant or being acknowledged for tax purposes, you need these types of data. And so I think we can help to support the gardeners being able to be more sustainable in the long run and keep their operations running, not just through the physical tools, but also through the data collection and the grant proposal writing. Then we continued working with another organization called the Northern New Jersey Community Foundation. And this work took place during the pandemic. So there were fewer opportunities for interns. Our interns were all very grateful for having a paid internship during the pandemic. The Northern New Jersey Community Foundation is an organization, another nonprofit that asks, you know, what can we do together that we can't do alone? And they look forward to helping to facilitate community collaboration, and this project was around food security, and a piece of that was partnering with Greens Do Good, which is a vertical farm in Hackensack, New Jersey. So the students in 2020 that were partnering with the Northern New Jersey Community Foundation were aiming to help close the food loop, the food system model, by taking a look at food waste and how to reduce food waste. And, you know, all of these things are connected, right? And so if you reduce food waste, you reduce emissions, and that feeds back to climate change. And so really, if we can just reduce it at the source, that's better, right? And so, and if you do have food waste, then what do you do? Can you have a local shared composter like a rocket, or should it be something that's more industrial, like an anaerobic digester that would, you know, lead to more complete digestion? And that's something that the students took a look at. We also, following that in 2021, partnered directly with Greens Do Good. And Greens Do Good is vertical, as I mentioned, a vertical hydroponic farm in Hackensack, New Jersey, and they work in partnership with the Reed Foundation, that is an organization that houses adults with autism. And so Greens Do Good has the mission of transforming the way their local community sources healthy produce. And they handpick and pack fresh produce year-round and deliver it straight to the doors of their community. And a lot of times that's restaurants that are buying this produce. And they know that a vertical farm is not necessarily the most environmentally friendly. It does help to put fresh, healthy produce right in an urban environment. But they wanted the students to take a look at some of their practices and try to improve the sustainability. So maybe reducing the amount of energy that was needed to be used. And so the students were looking at how they could increase food production, expanding that, conducting an energy audit, and developing an environmental assessment and assessing the profitability for this organization. And finally, we also in 2021 had the pleasure of working with the Trust for Public Land, great organization that has helped many neighborhoods, many communities to have access to green space. And so in 2021, PSEG-ISS partnered with the Trust for Public Land, an organization that protects the land in communities by transforming it into quality public parks. And TPL believes that green spaces are fundamental for sustaining healthy, equitable, and resilient communities. And they've worked in the ironbound communities that Melissa was referring to try to transform that landscape that she showed you into something that looks a bit more like this. So this is a schoolyard in Newark with green infrastructure that helps to mitigate some of the stormwater overflow. And so they tasked their team with analyzing the stormwater and the urban heat of Newark in and around these schoolyards and parks where they had implemented some of the green infrastructure. And the team was able to provide data to understand how efficient the facilities that had been implemented are, and to suggest some additional modifications after analyzing the previously used stormwater management techniques in order to maximize the potential for the sites to retain stormwater. And these are some of the sort of sketches where they are suggesting some additional modifications that can be done in order to minimize the amount of heat in the parks and to continue making them very accessible and useful to the neighbors, to the neighborhood. So with that, I'd just like to thank you for listening to me. We have some acknowledgements. We're funded. We have large funders, the National Science Foundation, and also PSEG is one of our larger funders. You can find a lot of information about our programs at www.montclair.edu/ISS. You can follow us or find us on social media, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're on the radio weekly on WMSC 90.3 FM, which is primarily streamed. And then those podcasts called The Refresh, that's our podcast series, are also on SoundCloud, and you can find them there on SoundCloud. And some of you that are listening here today have been some of our guest speakers, and we have some great speakers coming up. So I always enjoy listening to those podcasts when I'm driving. They really cheer me up as I'm driving. But there's lots of information available, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Amy, thank you so much. The PSE&G Institute over at MSU is a very intriguing and progressive, innovative program. Just elephant in the room before we take any questions. I do want everyone to know I went to Montclair State University. I graduated in 2017. The Institute opened up, like Miss Amy said, in 2016. I did apply. I was not accepted.
It's competitive. It's very competitive.
I was not accepted. I was not accepted. And I'm not sour. I'm just saying.
you know, we do have a lot of students that apply year after year, and eventually they learn how to like hone their application. Maybe you left before you had a chance to do that.
And if I remember, I'll be honest, I feel like I applied and it was like the quickest response I ever had on an application for anything ever. It was like, no, I'm sorry, we don't want you, dude.
Sorry.
It's all good, not your fault.
You're allowed. We collaborate with everyone, so we can still work together and learn from each other.
We'll figure it out. So one of our first questions is coming from our friend Pam, asking if you can discuss shade sales, or is it shade soils?
Oh, it's shade sales. So I guess, you know, this is something that one of our students that's an architecture student had suggested to the Trust for Public Land, and the Trust for Public Land had looked at these to implement. The problem in the Northeast is that you have to take them down in the winter, because otherwise you get accumulation of snow and ice. And so they're not as user-friendly as they are in some of the more, you know, southern kinds of environments, southeast, southwest of the United States. And so they're still considering how to do that in a way that can be used here in the Northeast.
Okay.
I don't know if you had questions more about those, but. And basically they're large pieces of fabric that are kind of stretched out over different places in the playground to give people shade while they're out, you know, experiencing the outdoors and using the playground or the park.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Miss Amy? Again, you can type them into the Q&A and we will share them with our speaker. Or if you're comfortable, you're welcome to raise your hand. We'll promote you to a panelist. We could see your face, hear your voice. But now is the time for questions for a very knowledgeable local leader.
I guess I'll just say, well, you know, while you're checking to see if there's any questions, these are some of our real community focused kinds of projects. We do work on emissions and water reduction and water treatment, wastewater treatment. We work on all different kinds of sustainability issues that have been brought up today, you know, renewable energy. And so I'd be happy to talk about those another time. I just really focused on the green pieces today. Yeah. And so if anybody has questions or wants to engage around those other topics, I'm happy to do that as well.
Thank you, Amy, for your wonderful presentation. I have something to comment. Since we are the only environmental organization based in Montclair, and the Montclair State University is in our yard, I would like to have in some way more engagement with the college, so that we will be able to exchange and collaborate in different projects. The Northeast Earth Coalition is now working not only in Montclair, but in many places. We have now 10 municipalities where we are working, and we have 11 community gardens, and we are expanding the program, and even people from Maryland, Pennsylvania, Connecticut are reaching out to us and working in collaboration. So knowing that we have a very progressive educational institution in Montclair, you has been always there for us. So we are very grateful. But I would like to reach out more people who are engaged in the environmental cause.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to talk with you. We can set up a time.
Thank you.
A very interesting question was posed from someone regarding, like you're saying, green development, asking if a planning board can implement light colored roofing on buildings. So like asking if a municipal land use board has the ability to impose, I guess what we would say today is green development regulations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the policy piece exactly. I think it really depends on the local, you know, ordinances. So it would probably be a conversation with the planning board for sure, or the council. And
what were we going to say? I'm sorry.
I think that you'd have to reach out to your local municipality and ask that question.
I know, and this might be something that you're kind of privy to also, Amy, with Sustainable Jersey. I know one of their, that state program that the state of New Jersey opens up for different municipalities to get certified in environmentalism, sustainability in your legislation, in your community, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that they have a whole section on green development, and that I think how it works a lot is that local municipalities will pass ordinances, like you were just saying, like development regulations for their municipality that the planning board has to enforce. I know some municipalities do the light colored roofing regulations. Some try as far to like provide incentives for solar panels getting on newly built developments and things like that. And that's really a great way of government intervening and trying to inspire the responsible development.
Right. So you can go to the Sustainable Jersey website, and all of the actions that you mentioned and many more are there. We just started a partnership with them where we're helping to support municipalities throughout the state with some of those actions. And then the Bureau of Public Utilities, BPU, also has a lot of the renewable energy incentives and information, as well as the DEP on their website. So lots of resources in this state. It's a great place to be because there's so much going on right now with, you know, trying to hit the 80 by 50 targets and trying to reduce emissions and moving to EVs and the new water infrastructure funding that's coming. So there's so much happening right now. And the new environmental justice law that Melissa talked about, prioritizing some of these resources for the EJ communities. There's really great resources on the DEP website and BPU and Sustainable Jersey.
Absolutely. Fred had his hand raised. I brought him in. Fred, you have a question?
Yeah, well, not really so much a question, Doug. Compliments to you and Jose for a wonderful, wonderful conference. I'm up here in West Sand Lake, New York, outside of Troy.
Wow.
And enjoying enjoying the prospect of spring eventually coming. Takes a little longer here, but my compliments to Amy on a wonderful, wonderful presentation. Montclair State sounds like a great institution, and I think I compliment you on helping individuals who, in some cases, as we have seen, children who have no idea where vegetables come from. And we do have community gardens that have started actually in Troy, abandoned lots that have been converted to gardens and are being maintained by young people in Troy itself. But my compliments to you for all of that, the emphasis on education. And I have to say, especially my thanks to the organization, I don't remember the name of it right now, but emphasizing employment opportunities for children with autism, because that's an underserved group. I know here we have organizations that are trying to make sure that children who are being educated through our education system until they turn 21, I believe it's the same in New Jersey, but to be able to provide them with opportunities to find employment and learn skills after the age of 21 when they do leave formal education. And I thank you for that. Thank you for a great presentation and totally enjoyable. The ability to be able to tune in to this from remote locations. I mentioned that to Jose after the conference last year, which I also viewed virtually, is a wonderful opportunity. And I hope that hope we'll be able to be in person perhaps next year, but I think the Zoom component is really valuable. So I thank you all for a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. That's nice. So you can find more information about the projects we're going to be working on this coming summer if you come join us either in person or virtually on June 2nd. And you'll find more information on our website for that. That's the launch of our summer program for 2022. So montclair.edu/ISS.
I had a question from the public. If people are trying to get involved with the ISS, how can they do that?
go to the website. You'll find our email address. You'll find lots of different types of programs and resources. So take a look. There's videos. There's all kinds of stuff there. And then emails, and you can email us as well. So it's psegiss@montclair.edu.
Are there ways for people outside the university to get involved with the Institute?
Absolutely. We have mentors. We have subject matter experts that work alongside and help guide the student teams. We come to different organizations and build partnerships. We have so many partnerships throughout the state and well beyond. And so if you have something to offer, that's great. If you have something that you need, we could maybe bring some students to you. So take a look at what's there, see if you have questions, and feel free to reach out. It's so the email is psegiss@montclair.edu.
Nice. Perfect. Any other questions for Amy and for the very innovative institute taking place right in our backyard, right off of Route 3, Route 46?
Come visit us. We're open.
And again, I don't take my denial of application personally. I still admire the Institute.
Well, we now are guiding people a little bit, giving them pointers on what we're looking for in the application. So maybe our process has evolved a little bit as well.
Yeah. Or maybe I just was an unappealing candidate. That's okay too.
I don't know. I can't, I could look, but I can't say off the top of my head.
No, let's save the embarrassment.
It is very competitive, I can say that.
Yeah.
And so it may be you compete more strongly with people that are in your same major. It may be that there were a lot of people in your major applying because, you know, we maximize diversity. So we take students from all different majors.
Yeah, very possible. It's very possible. Any other questions for Amy while we still have her? She's going to need to get back to the ivory tower soon.
It's green. It's green and everyone's welcome. It's public. It's accessible. We're accessible and all about supporting everyone. So, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm just really pleased and honored to be engaged with you over all these years. You're one of the very first conferences I went to when I first came to Montclair State, and have been back several times since. So thanks for continuing this great work.
Definitely. And
thank you, Amy. We appreciate your support. Have a nice day.
Mm-hmm.
See you, Amy. So friends, neighbors, community members, here at this point of the conference, we wanted to open up the table here for anyone that wanted to share things about their organization, projects that they're working on. Consider this another tabling event for organizations that may not have had an opportunity to get up here earlier. Again, this was a very packed and productive conference today, this morning, this afternoon. And if there's anyone else who would like to share things that they've been working on, now's the time. You can raise your hand. We'll promote you to panelist. And I'm sure that we would still love to hear from a few folks. We had a large outreach today on social media. Our attendee list was pretty stacked also. The conference, since its inception, I have watched it grow larger and larger every year, with more impacts, more influence, more participants. We always get our familiar faces too. This is a wonderful check-in at the beginning of the year with everybody. And it's always an honor and interesting to see what folks have been up to.
Thank you, Doug. One thing I want to share is, first, thank you for joining the conference and staying online for so long. Like Doug said, it's true. We have a wonderful program today. And one of the things that we hope is after we finish the program in a few minutes, you'll be able to contact this organization, network with them, collaborate with them. This is what we do, and it's going fantastically. So we know that the value of working together and networking with other organizations. Last year, we developed 23 new partnerships and collaborations. This year, we already have 4, and that is the very beginning of the year. So we are planning to exceed what the number of collaboration from last year. We have also several events in our calendar in our website. You can check that. The Earth Day is the next one. You can join us. There is many events that we are organizing for Earth Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. And again, this really was an informative program, and we had a lot of new faces, familiar faces with us, updating us through the times the last year. It's really an important aspect that I think we should touch on again very briefly, that our first speaker, our keynote, Gar, was mentioning about maybe trying to transcend what sustainability has historically meant in the past. We know that we try to do things in a way that will not harm the future selves, the future of our species, to do the same exact thing. And from what we're hearing today and what we're seeing happening around us, we are seeing that we're transcending that. We're taking it a little further. Let's not only give the future the ability to do what we're doing now, but let's give them the ability to do even more. And that's a very important sentiment to go forward. Obviously, not one person can change the world. Maybe not even 10 people can change the world. But if all of us work together in our little corner of the earth, we'll all start seeing the macro change that is needed for years to come. And with that, Jose, unless you have anything else to share, I think that might bring an end to our 2022 conference.
No, like I said before, we are grateful for your support. Thank you for the great master of ceremony job that you have done today, as usual. You have been our master of ceremony for 7 years now, six years now. And we love that. Yeah, I think we are done, and thank you for your support. Everybody, the organization is growing, and we are thrilled by all the new things that are coming to us. New expansion in Elizabeth, which is also Newark, and other local communities. We are currently building up a new community garden in Passaic. Another large farm-to-table community garden will be built in Elizabeth, and another community garden also in the concept farm-to-table will be built in Montclair.
Wonderful. Great things that we learned about today from the past year, and even better things to come in the year on deck. Again, everybody, thank you so much for attending. Please enjoy the beautiful weekend, and we will certainly see you next year. Be safe until then. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having the coalition.